So what I'd like to talk to you about is one of the secrets to power in the golf swing. And we talk a lot about this in our Power Level 2 class and even in our Fitness Level 2 class, is the vertical jump component. Now, we always say that the higher you can jump, the farther you can hit a ball. And we're not just saying that, we actually can prove that by the data we've collected here at TPI. And if you look at the best players in the world, and when I say the best players, typically there's a correlation between how far you can hit the ball and where you end up on the money list. So in my mind, power is one of the things that makes the best players in the world the best players in the world. And if you look at the list of the biggest hitters, you also see some of the biggest jumpers on the PGA Tour. So here are 4 of the longest hitters on the PGA Tour demonstrating what we were just talking about, vertical jump abilities. You're going to notice that if we look at our PGA Tour players, on average, the average tour player can jump somewhere between 20 and 22-inch vertical jump. These players are going to be maxing out 30, 32 inches. We've even had long drive tour players jump over 36 vertical inches, which is what we would normally see in the NBA. If you actually want to go test your vertical jump, I'd really be looking for 20 inches. If you can get over 20 inches, I think you can get some ball speed over the 165-mile-an-hour ball speed. If you don't have the ability to check your vertical jump, you can check a broad jump. Just as a general rule of thumb, you should be able to jump 120% of your height. So in other words, if you're 100 inches tall, you should be able to jump 120 inches on a broad jump. So if you want to go ahead and measure that, you can get an idea if you've got the power that we're looking for to create that incredible vertical thrust force. See, what we realize is that if you can create speed in your body, from vertical jump to sprinting to throwing, you can create speed swinging a golf club. So in other words, it's like athletic speed, athletic power is athletic power. How you express it is up to you, and you can do that with a coach in almost any sport. But if you don't have the power, you can't express it no matter how good your coach is, right? So that's the beauty, is when we take an athlete and put him with a great coach, and we have both the power and the technical, and that's where we get the best players in the world. But this vertical jump component, in my mind, does a couple things that are really important to understand. It's why we try and implement these with all of our training. Let's talk first of all about the physics of hitting a ball far. Okay, so we use TrackMan and launch monitors nowadays to try and optimize flight of the ball. And one of the things that we've learned on long drive is the higher you can get your attack angle and the lower I can maintain my spin with a higher attack angle, the farther the ball can go. Now there's lots of ways to get a positive attack angle, but one of the secrets, and this is one of the things that the long drive players do, and it's where the vertical jump comes in, it's that vertical lift. Now let me explain. One of the things that happens is when players squat down, and most players, most big hitters will squat down 1 to 2 inches on the backswing. As they start to come on the downswing, you're going to see them go ahead and do this vertical jump. I call them the ballerinas. They go up to their toes, or they even go airborne on our force platforms. And they'll literally do a jump that's somewhere between 2 and 5 inches going upward. Now, as they do that, guess what happens to the handle? The handle of the club goes up. As the handle of the driver raises, it helps shallow out the club head. So what happens is this vertical thrust, not only is it going to create a lot of power in the body, which we'll talk about in a second, but it actually helps them create this positive attack angle, and it helps them maintain that lower spin, and that optimizes the physics of the projectile of the golf ball and makes the ball go farther. So the first thing that a vertical jump does, and this is something that a lot of people overlook, is it helps create a positive attack angle. That's really important. Now the second thing, and probably the more obvious thing, is it creates ground reaction force. Right? This ground reaction force is any equal and opposite reaction of you pushing into the ground is going to go back into the golfer. So in other words, as I squat down, when I go to thrust up, I'm going to get this incredible power that's going from my legs up into my core. If I can take that power and harness it into rotary power, which is what the best players in the world do, it's one of the key power sources they're going to use. We always say there are 4 main power sources. There's rotary power, which is basically rotating. There's your arm, or chop power, just chopping down with your arms. There's wrist power, but to me, the first power source that most kids develop, and the one that almost every long drive player or the biggest hitters on the PGA Tour use, is that vertical thrust power, and that's that jump. So it's creating that explosive ground reaction force, helps shallow out the driver, creates the positive attack angle, gets that power started in the lower body, transfers through their core to their arms, and that is how you hit the ball a long way. And I want to show you something here on our 3D machine. We're here at the 3D Center here at TPI, and what I did is I pulled up a graph. This is a composite average of our PGA Tour players, and this graph right here you're looking at is actually if they swallowed a sensor, and the sensor went right in the middle of their waist. So imagine it's like you got your belt, and I put a sensor right in the middle of your belt. This is measuring up and down of a PGA Tour player. You can see this is the backswing, this is the downswing. On the backswing, that sensor drops down. Most players drop around an inch down. The biggest players will drop 2 to 3 inches down. So this player here is dropping 1.8 inches down, and then you can see here's the downswing. From here to here, this player is going to lift. That's that sensor driving up in the air, and it goes from almost 2 inches down to almost 2 inches up. It's almost a 4-inch vertical jump right through impact. So what that's doing is creating that incredible ground reaction force, helping shallow out or raise the handle, shallow out the driver, create that positive attack angle. All of those are going to turn into incredible speed. So one of the keys to hitting the ball far is that vertical jump. Get your jump on and you're going to hit the ball a lot farther.